Hi everybody, let's try that again. Very welcome to yet another live stream here on the Mentor Pilot channel. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic as always, wherever you are out there. For some reason my mic didn't work on the first instant, but that should be fixed now. I do see some kind of audio going out. So if you guys can hear me, then please just tell me. Yes, it looks like someone can hear me. Perfect. Great, guys. If you haven't been on one of these live streams before, I'll tell you a little bit about how this works. So I will be here for the better part of about an hour if you guys have enough questions. And I will try to answer questions primarily from the super chat. So if you have something that you really want to ask me, then use the super chat question. Otherwise, when time permits, I will take from the normal, comments as well. And also I have already done a live stream today on the Mentour Aviation app. So those of you who have the Mentour Aviation app will know that from now on I'm doing live streams there, maybe 1, 2, 3 times a week. So if you guys are interested in having a little bit more of an intimate question and answer session, then get the Mentour Aviation app and become a premium member. Okay, because the way that the app works is that when I do live streams inside of the app, everyone that has the app, which is completely free by the way, can listen in and watch the live stream, but only premium members can ask questions. And that is just one of the many things that I am adding now for premium members. So if you guys want to get this, and by the way, I will after this live stream today release the first vlog inside of the app that's going to be streamable. For the first time ever, it's going to be streamable from inside of the app for premium members. So there will be a vlog from one of the days that I flew last week. So if you guys are interested in that, then please, after this live stream, go in, get the premium membership, and join me. Because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do some basically when there's material that I think is maybe a little bit too technical or a little bit maybe sensitive, then what I will do is I will send that out in the app first of all, and I will then see what the reactions are, but it's going to be the premium members that are going to be able to stream that directly to their devices. So make sure that you not only have the Mentour Aviation app by now, but that you also have subscribed to it. And why do I need subscriptions then? Well, people have been asking me this, and the fact is that I am constantly developing this app, and I've been developing it for 6 months now, and it costs a lot of money, and I want to keep developing it. I want to do a full news service for you guys. I want to do a picture sharing part of it as well, but all of that I need some kind of financial help to do. So those of you who use this and are premium subscribers to the app, they help me with achieving that, so I can keep working on the app. But enough about that. Let's start talking about today's questions. Anna, first out on the super chat here. There have been recent episodes of pilots being arrested for being drunk. Can you talk about options to help pilots with substance abuse issues before it gets to the point where it destroys a career? Yeah. So because of the way that this business works, with working irregular hours, maybe being away from your family for a lot of time, spending a lot of time in hotels and things like that, substance abuse is not that common, but alcohol abuse have been an issue in the industry for many years. Most airlines have programs for this, so if you feel that you are in the danger zone, maybe you're starting to drink too much, not only the occasional beer on a weekend or whatever, but you're starting to do it a lot, then every airline should have a program in force for that, so that you can go to your closest boss, which might be your base captain or your fleet captain or whatever it might be, and tell them that, listen, I think I have a problem here. They should then be able to take you offline, give you the support you need, and then work on it, work your way through, and when you're back, you should be able to go back in again. That's the way that it should work. Now, I can't speak for all airlines, but airlines generally have a system in force to tackle this. So that's a great question. It's a really important thing, which I'm hoping that if your airline doesn't have it, they definitely should, because it's not something that no. Hey, all right, this is all right. To explain that, guys, we have an ongoing Nerf battle. Me and my little boy. Hey, no. Me and my little boys today. I told them not to do this, but here's Lucas. Uh, no. Yeah. So, no more nerf. No, I'm doing a live now, so that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Right, say hello to everyone, by the way. This is Lucas, my oldest son.
Hello, subscribers of Mentour Pilot.
No more nerf until we're done with this, okay?
Okay.
Or I'll come and chase you down. Okay. No, neither you, William.
Okay.
No, don't go for the head. Good, you can go and close the door, please.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, that's having kids, by the way. So, where were we? Just to be sure. Anyway, more questions here. Let's see, I'm running a little bit behind because that was not part of it. They did this on my live stream in the app earlier as well. They hear when I'm talking and they attack me because they know that I can't defend myself then. I might send out a little video in the app later on about what I did to them when it comes to the Nerf battle earlier on today. So, Wolf's Rule 100. Does it bother pilots when passengers ask to visit? I was able to back in January and absolutely loved it. I waited till after we landed. I'm hesitant to ask again because I don't want to bother them. No. The thing is, the way that this works is that what we want you to do is we want you to contact the cabin crew, which is going to be, talking to the purser, which is the cabin crew chief, and they will then talk to the pilots and assess whether or not it's suitable. So let's say that we are, for example, really delayed and there's a lot of stuff that we need to do. Well, in that case, they might turn you down. Or the flight crew might say that, no, today is not a good day because we have a lot to do. But they will ask, and if we say okay, then, you're more than welcome to come and visit you. We love, at least I love to have you guys coming in, say hello, ask a few questions. Like, there's always time for that. And I remember myself how it felt to be able to come in and visit the flight deck. So for me, and I think I talked to pretty much all of my colleagues when I say that, we love to have you in on the ground. Obviously, we can't let you in during in-flight anymore, which is a pain. But on the ground, in the turnaround, when we have some time over, we'd love to come to say hello. So do that. Keep asking. If you get a no, don't take it bad. It's for a good reason. And if you get a yes, well, then you've got something for it. There's nothing to lose by asking. All right? Good. Tsukhan, 1. How did you feel as a pilot when the Boeing whistleblower described how they prioritize cost cutting and corner cutting over design and build safety? Yeah, obviously, that's not good. And if that's true, you always have to judge whenever you have to deal with disgruntled workers and whether or not they're telling the truth. When it's a lot of people coming out and say the same thing, well, then obviously there's a problem, and that problem has to be taken care of. Me as a pilot, I put my full trust in my life in the hands of the developers of the aircraft. So I assume that they do whatever they can to keep the aircraft safe. Like I was saying on the previous app live as well, flying an aircraft is 50% skill and 50% trust. If you don't have the trust from the passengers, you will never be able to run an airline. So, and that goes for the aircraft manufacturers as well, which is very, very apparent when you look at the current MAX crisis. When the trust disappears, that is an absolutely horrible thing. So, I have to keep the trust going, because if not, I cannot continue to fly. If I don't trust the manufacturer of the aircraft I'm flying, I cannot fly. And I do, but the cost cutting thing is not pretty, and I completely agree with that. Good. I'll take some normal questions as well from the chat here, not to completely forget you. From Julie Balfour, would you ever consider another type rating for different aircraft? Yeah, I would. I would love to fly a different aircraft as well. I've been flying Boeing for 18 years. I would love to fly Airbus, to try out the philosophy and try different things. And this is something that I always say, life quality and the quality in what I do, the job I do, always goes first. So I'm not going to change an airline in order to change a type. For example, I will only change the type if that comes with a significant increase in working conditions or life quality, more time with me, with my family and stuff like that. But if my airline, for example, tells me that, listen, Peter, we need you to fly this Fokker 50 now for the same salary, you get a little bit more time off, then I would probably change to that. It's as easy as that. Once you have been flying, transport category aircraft, then what type you're flying, as long as it's safe and a good working environment, doesn't really matter, and that's the truth of it. Michael Neves, my PPL check ride is coming up Wednesday. Any tips? Yeah, you know it, right? Okay, you know your stuff. So just relax, do what you've been taught. Just show you will make mistakes. Everyone will always make mistakes on check rides. Don't worry about it. Just show them that you're a safe flyer. Show them all of the stuff that you've learned now during your course. If you do that, you're going to pass that check ride without a problem. I promise you that. So good luck, and send me a message. Tell me how it went. All right. Good. I'll go back to the super chat questions now because we're getting quite a few. Jake Schroeder, good to see you here, Jake. How does the extreme cold in flight not affect plane's tires? That's a good question. That has to do with what they're inflated with, which is it's nitrogen, I think. It's basically they don't change too much. Like the pressure doesn't vary much inside of the wheels due to temperature, and the plane's tires were built with that in mind. So of course, as any gas, when the temperature drops, they are going to kind of contract a little bit, but it's not noticeable. It's not an issue, and they're actually inside. It's only the outside of the tires that touches the air in case of the 737. Rest of the tires inside of the wheel well bay, which is where it's not that cold. So it's not an issue. That's all what we've been told and all we've ever noticed anyway. But it's a great question. I haven't thought much of that, to be honest. Circuits. Thank you very much for using the super chat and for helping the channel out. It's much appreciated. Can a person with autism or Asperger's pilot a commercial airplane like the 737? What would you think the challenges would be, and what would potentially be an advantage for people on the spectrum? This is a question that actually is very close to heart, because I have very close relatives who have Asperger's, or it's not called Asperger's, it's more high functioning autism. Depends a little bit on where you are on the spectrum. You can be an absolutely fantastic pilot if you're on the spectrum, on the far end of the spectrum, which means that you can still interact well with other people. It just means that you will be able to spend, you will be spending a lot of attention on making sure that everything is right and by the book, which is the way that pilots do fly generally. But this is important. You have to be able to interact well in a team. All right, you cannot be completely focused on exactly the details. You have to be able to see slightly outside of exactly what the rules and regulations are saying, or exactly what the technical manual is saying, and be able to kind of adapt yourself to a team. Because if not, it's going to be very hard for you to, well, you might be able to get a job, but it's going to be very hard to thrive in the industry, because it is, after all, you're sitting two boys or two girls, or a girl and a boy, in a cockpit the size of a closet, and you have to spend 12 hours together. And in most cases, when something does happen, the rules doesn't really fully apply. Like they may be, but the books and the checklists and stuff are built for exact scenarios. But in reality, scenarios are a little bit different, so you have to be able to adapt. And what I'm saying with this is that it depends on how much on the spectrum you are, if you're going to be successful or not. I think that a quite big part of the pilot core, actually, well, not big part, but I think there is a significant amount of people that actually are a little bit on the spectrum, because of the way that you need to focus on one single thing in order to be successful. So I wouldn't be too worried, but I'm also not saying that it's going to be easy. It's just like for everyone else, you just have to be able to adapt it, right? You have to be able to control it. So when it comes to psychological issues, for example, where autism can be, something that you even need meds for, whenever you start needing medication for it, then that's a no-go. Okay, when you have a medication, psychopharmaca of any sort, that's going to stop you from getting a class 1 medical. But as long as that's not the case, well, then it's up to you to kind of, see if it fits you or not, if you can do it or not. So great question. I'm really happy that you asked that. I hope that was the answer that you were after. The short answer is yes. Providing you can control it, you can become a successful pilot. And then it's going to be up to you to see if you actually like it or not. Okay? Good. So, Jeff, Tedke, hi Mentor. Thanks for taking the time for the live chat. What does it mean when you say bug up? So, like I mentioned in the previous video that I just released, we have to accelerate the aircraft after departure in order to retract the flaps. Okay. On the 737, we have several bugs, depending on speed bugs, I should say. Those are little indicators on the speed tape saying at which speed we are safe to fly with the current flap setting. So, for example, flaps 40 and flaps 30, they only have a ref indicator. But anything above that, flaps 25, flaps 15, flaps 10, flaps 5, flaps 1, will have a little bug with its number on it. Right? So if you have flaps 1 selected, there's a little 1 bug, and you cannot go lower than that. The speed cannot decrease below that, because then you don't have the speed safety margins in order to avoid a stall. Right? So when we want to retract the flaps, then we want to bring the speed up above the up bug, which is flaps up bug. So that means that as we retract the flaps, well, before we retract the flaps, we bring the speed back up to the up bug. The aircraft will then lower the nose, pitch forward, start accelerating, and that's what we call bug up. So when the pilot flying calls bug up, it means bring the speed back to the up bug so that we can start accelerating and retracting the flaps, and that's all it is really. Great questions tonight, guys. Love the interaction. Right, guys, before I go on as well, I want to send out a huge thank you to all my patrons out there. I know there's a lot of you watching this. You are doing a great service to the channel. My patrons, they get to preview my videos. I know that now during the summer you haven't had too much time to preview it, and that's because I've been kind of trying to make some videos in between, you know, chilling with my family, my own wedding party that I had last weekend and things like that. But normally the patrons get a day or two to preview a video, to tell me what they think about it, if there's something I should change or anything. Just give me general feedback about videos. They get to preview when I have a doubt about which thumbnails to use, and they're basically just helping the channel on top of actually helping it out financially as well. So if you're a patron out there, huge thank you to you. We are really grateful, and would we say me and my wife, who's now running this channel. There will be stuff coming your way, okay, very soon. And if you guys are interested in becoming Patreon, here in the description of this video or in the Mentour Aviation app, if you just click on the top bar, there's a sponsor bar. If you click Patreon up there, you'll come to my Patreon page, and you can decide if you want to support or not. Okay, so let's see. So I cannot. This is a Russian name, I think. Hi, what do you think about the Su-1492 pilot actions? Okay. Now I'm not sure exactly what that is. So okay, you guys, admins, if you could just send me a message about the Su-1492, because I don't want to talk about something that I'm not sure about what it is. Just Google it, send it to me, and I will, because I definitely know what you're talking about, but I don't know the flight number by heart. Okay, so I'll get back to you on the Su-1492, and if I don't, then go into the Mentour Aviation app, go to submit feedback, write super chat, and I will write you an email, personal email, explaining my thoughts on it, providing that it's something I can talk about, Sam Petro, great to have you here. Sam is one of the admins inside the Mentour Aviation app. He's doing a fantastic job when it comes to the news feed. So if you go into the forums, and you see that there's an aviation news feed there. Basically every other news that comes out comes from Sam, who's scouring the internet for anything that's aviation related. So thank you for a great job. When does the pilot receive gate information? Great question. So that depends a little bit. Depends what airline you're flying for. In my airline, what I do is before descent, I have the pilot monitoring tends to give the radio to the pilot flying and then call up our handling agent on a specific frequency. both to tell them if we have any specials, so that means wheelchairs that might need assistance or lift off, also the outbound fuel so that they can start preparing for the fuel. And when we do that, they tend to give us gate information and any slot coming up. So we tend to know that fairly early. Now, if that doesn't work, so if the frequency doesn't work or we can't get through to them, in that case, we will get the gate information when we start taxiing on the ground, generally. Great questions today, guys. Jeremy Kana, you seem to mention in recent video that it is safe to fly with a malfunctioning APU, but could that make it much more difficult to troubleshoot in case of a dual engine failure? Yeah, alright. So it is not a problem to fly an aircraft without an APU. In fact, there are some aircraft types that doesn't have an APU. And an APU is basically a good thing to have for, well, obviously for you know, for power, as a power source on the ground, but also mainly as an air conditioning unit. But as you're saying, if you start to have one engine failure, it's nice to have an APU because then you have a secondary power source. And if you have two engine failures, well, then it's a whole other story, because we do really want an AC power source. If you don't, if you have dual engine failure, you will lose a lot of systems and a lot of screens. There will basically only be the captain's screen, the captain's VHF. In some cases, you might even drop the hydraulics, because obviously the engine hydraulic pumps are not working, but now the electric hydraulic pumps are not working either, so you might end up with manual reversion. So in case of dual engine failure, then you definitely want an APU. However, the aircraft are not built or dispatched with a dual engine failure in mind, because a dual engine failure is a catastrophic situation, and you cannot build aircraft systems for catastrophic situations. In that case, where do you stop? You know, do you have standby in case a wing falls off, something like that? You know what I mean? Now, I do know that people are going to say, well, it's happened, and yes, it has happened. We had the you know, Miracle on the Hudson was one. There's been others as well where we've had dual engine failures. So now we've started to adapt procedures for it. But when it comes to actual tertiary power sources, we're not there yet. And the aircraft does work. Okay, it does still fly even if you don't have an APU and you've lost both engines. You still have battery power for up to an hour, so you do have a little bit of backup, but it becomes significantly harder if you can't start the APU. So that's a good point. Yeah, Holly Movie Star. Yeah, tires have nitrogen. Rate cars use it too. Yeah, that's what I thought. I seem to remember it, but I couldn't, you know, that's the thing with these live streams, that people throw me questions, and obviously, even though I do remember quite a lot, I don't remember every single thing. So that's why I would love to be able to say, well, I could get back to you on that, but obviously I can't because this is live. Agu Bellu. Hi, I just wanted to say that your videos are fantastic and you're such a positive inspiration. Thanks for the work and love from SVQ. That's down in southern Spain, Seville, I believe. Thank you very much, first of all. It's great to hear, and yeah, I try to be a positive force. That's what I want to do. I want to be that for you guys, because I love what I do. I love teaching and instructing, and this role that I've got now, where I can talk about being an airline pilot in a positive and constructive way. This is exactly the reason why I started the channel, because I wanted you to have someone to talk to you about these things in a positive way. And this is also why I started the Mentour Aviation app. And you will notice that when you go into the chat, for example, you will notice that people are positive. You know, that if you ask a question, no matter what that question is, if you're a 13-year-old and you have some, you know, questions that you think are very simple, people will treat you with the respect that you deserve, because that's what I want, and it's my app. Okay, so this is what the channel is about, and I'm happy that you guys are getting those vibes, because that's really what I'm trying to give out. Ronny Andersen. Let's see, that's now skip the step. There we go. I was visiting Canada 3 years ago, British Columbia. I was going to Cox. To get there, we got a plane which max 30-person fit in that plane. They didn't close the door to the cockpit. No. Some of the smaller commuters, they don't even have a door, and it's not a requirement there, I believe, either. So sometimes they just have the old kind of like a sheets that you pull past, which is cool. You know, the smaller the aircraft is, the less heavy, like bulletproof doors they will be able to fit to it. So good for you. It's nice to see, isn't it? Not obey. Do you think we will see unmanned drone commercial airlines in the next 20 years, both passengers or freight? No, I don't think so. Not passengers anyway. Freight maybe. We'll probably start to see drone freighters quite soon, the smaller ones anyway. I'm sure that Amazon is working hard on getting that. But there's a lot of obstacles to get through, and I've done a few videos on this that you can check out. But 20 years, I think it's very unlikely, especially now after the MAX disaster, to be perfectly honest, because I think it's scared the aircraft manufacturers, and it's definitely spooked the authorities, like the FAA, for example. I think they are going to go through any certification after this with tooth and nail, right? They will be coming through every single thing there is. I have the window open, by the way, guys, because it's like 35 degrees in here. So I think that's going to severely slow down any new technology that's going to come in, and passenger or like pilotless aircraft is definitely one of those that say that they do. Just put yourself in the situation that they do certify a pilotless aircraft. They send it out and you have a crash. Who's to blame? Who's going to be paying for it? All of the insurance money, all of the things that comes with it. No. My answer is no. In 20 years, unless there is a significant breakthrough in technology, I don't think that we will see that. JC Burton, what do you think of aeronautical engineering as a career choice? Well, if you love working with aircraft, you're not really that interested in flying them, but you're fascinated with the technology around it, I think it's absolutely fantastic choice. I think there's a huge need for aeronautical engineers, and I don't think that you'll regret it, when you get through it, because I think it's a fairly complicated course to get through. I think the world is your oyster, basically. There's loads of jobs out there, at least as far as I know. Aeroflot crashed the 5th of May, the Sukhoi 1492. Let's see, I'm just going to have a check and see what my developers sent me here. Okay. So that's the I've done a video on that one, right? The pilot actions is very hard to judge. This is the Sukhoi Superjets that crashed and basically had a hard landing that developed a fire where a lot of people perished. First of all, it's very hard for me to talk about what the pilot did and didn't do, because I haven't got any information about the voice recorder. I haven't heard anything about the flight data recorder either. Apparently, from rumors, it's said that they had some kind of instrumentation failure, potentially electrical failure, which is, could explain why they came in maybe a little faster than they should, and they bounced. So I don't want to talk about the pilot actions without knowing those things. The only thing that I did and I talked about in the video that I released about it was the fact that people were evacuating with their hand luggage and stuff, which they should not do. You need to get out, you leave whatever you have behind. It's only stuff. You can buy new stuff. The insurance is going to cover it. Get out to make sure that everyone behind you can get out as well. When it comes to the pilot, we're going to have to wait and see what the investigation says before I can judge on that. Harish Savari. Hi Mentor, how does a pilot go about getting multiple type ratings? Enjoy your vacation. Well, it's as easy as doing multiple type ratings. You can hold a few type ratings in your license, but you're normally only allowed to fly once at a time, which, kind of makes sense when you think about it, because you don't want to mix Boeing procedures with Airbus procedures and do that every other day. It becomes very confusing, and when, the shit hits the fan, you need to be able to react quickly, and you normally do that if you're really, really concentrated on one aircraft type. So you can have it. I have friends who have both the Boeing 737 and the Airbus 320 family in their the current license, and 777 as well. Actually, I have a friend who have all three of those. But you will only be operating one at a time. And the type rating, you go through a type rating. Normally, that's paid for by the airline. If it's not, if you want to take it yourself, it's like €30,000 for a 737 type rating. So it's kind of, it's not something that I would recommend to do unless you have a job that needs it. And thank you for the vacation. I'm going to try to enjoy it. Ronny Andersson is back again. Thank you, or Andresen, I should say. Thank you very much. That was really good because there was really bad weather. I think everyone was more calm because you could see. Yeah, I can imagine. It kind of works both ways though, if you can see the cockpit, because people who are really afraid of flying, they might not want to see how much the pilots are actually working in, for example, turbulent conditions during approach. I think that a lot of nervous flyers, if they did see that, they were going to just make them more nervous. But if it calmed you down, if you liked it, then that's great. I personally love to be able to see the pilots, to see what they're up to, but that's for obvious reasons. German Schindler, thank you again. Hi Peter, how you feel about pilot job offers for the next years in Europe? The reason I'm asking is because many airlines are struggling in Europe now. Yeah, so I've been saying this for the last few live streams. Now obviously, since my last live stream, Ryanair went out and said that they were going to start cutting back on personnel, and that's a worrying sign. But what I have been saying is that the pilot market has been really, really good for several years in Europe. As in, I've never seen it as good as it's been the last 4 years. However, there is a consolidation going on. There's been a lot of price war in Europe that has been hurting a lot of airlines. And of course, now the MAX crisis, when you look at airlines like Norwegian, like TUI, that has, up to 30% of their fleet on MAXes sitting on the ground, and they have to hire in Airbus 330 to fly their flights in some cases. Well, that's going to hurt, right? That's going to hit the bottom line of these airlines. And Ryanair has gone out and said the same. So I think that we will see a slowdown. We're already seeing it, and we'll probably see it for the next few years. But remember that the airline industry is cyclical, and there's still a huge necessity for pilots in Asia. That's only going to be growing. There are loads of outstanding orders for Airbus and Boeing out there. They're going to know someone's going to have to fly those. And also, once the MAX do get released, which I think is going to happen towards Christmas or so, these orders are going to come. So these aircraft are going to need to be filled. So there might be a slight stop now, but I don't think over time that it's going to be looking more than a blip. But this is providing that there's not something major happening, like a conflict in the Middle East, for example. Like I've said this before, if the US would attack Iran or the other way around, then all bets are off, because that's going to hit the oil price, and when the oil price hits, that's going to hit the aviation industry first of all. And then there could be a major crisis that could stretch for 5-10 years. So it's famously very hard to predict the airline business. The only thing we can go by is what it looks like right now. And right now it still looks quite good. Okay, even though the last few weeks fairly bad news. Kuda, hi Mentor. If your airline would buy 737 MAX planes, would every 737 pilot get to fly it, or would there be separate 737NG and 737 MAX pilots? No, the way that things have been done, because my airline are buying the MAXes, is that everyone gets trained on it. Now, if it turns out that FAA comes back in and says, listen, there needs to be a type rating for this, then there might be a mix, right? So then there might be people who fly only certain types, at least until the whole fleet can be retrained. But as it is for the moment, where it's just a theoretical course and the whole fleet can fly them, doesn't mean that everyone will, but it's likely that these planes will be flown by everyone. Ian, Jill, good to see you here, Ian. Another strong supporter of the channel, which is always here on my live streams, and I greatly appreciate that. The FAA seems to be taking a lot of care over recertification of the 737 MAX. Is this chickens coming home to roost? Yeah. In short, yes. Of course. They are getting a lot of slack, a lot of grief for having a too slack and lapsed attitude to Boeing in the first certification. And they're not going to make the same mistake twice. And obviously, if they would now release the MAX and another certification issue would come up, they would look like fools. And they don't want that. So, yes, now they are going through it. That's why I've been saying that. I'm saying that once this aircraft do get released online, it means that the FAA would have checked every nut and bolt in the entire aircraft under any kind of circumstance, doing everything. So once it's released, when they've said, yeah, this is fine, it's going to be fine. As in, I don't say that Maxes will not have accidents or incidents in the future, but it shouldn't be because of these type of issues anyway. So this is why I'm also been saying that once the Max do come, I'm going to be very happy to fly it. All right, I have full confidence in that the aircraft will, once it's really released, be safe to fly. John Lee Edification. I am still confused about DALR and SALR. Can you help explain it more? DALR and SALR. No, I'm gonna say no, because right now I am drawing a blank on those specific shortenings. If you could send me an email, just give me a little bit more on that, because I don't recognize it. You go into Mentour Aviation app, you submit feedback, and then just write a little bit more about what those things are, and I can try to help you out. But just from the top of my head, I can't, unfortunately. Good stuff. So then I see that there are a few people here that have been sending out super chat questions without any questions, and if you had any questions and they didn't come through, then submit feedback and I will try to answer them to them. Alright, I'll go back up and take a few questions now from the normal chat as well. What's your PayPal, bro, man? No. If you want to help out the channel, then become a Patreon. That's the best way of doing it. Ahmed Shemes, I was watching your Cat 3 approach video. It was amazing. I've learned a lot. I've done some research but confused with fail passive and fail operational. Okay, maybe was that what we're talking about on the super chat? No, it's not. Well, fail passive, to explain it in a short way, is a fail passive system. Means that you have two autopilots that's monitoring the aircraft. Okay, on the Cat 3, that's what we do. We have two autopilots that are both in command, and they're both sending exactly the same information to our flight control computer, saying that you should fly forward a little bit, left a little bit, right, all the way like this. If one of those autopilots suddenly says, no, I want to turn right here, and the other one says, no, we should continue like we are, well, then the autopilot is going to follow the one that shows the least difference from what you're currently doing, and then disconnect both. That's the fail passive system, because that means that the autopilot doesn't know who is right or wrong. I'm not going to do something crazy, but I'm also going to say that I don't know who is right, so I'm going to disconnect. That's passive. Fail active, then you have an autopilot that can actually continue and can distinguish between the two, and potentially continue to even fly with the autopilot engaged down and land. Not sure if you can do it Cat 3 though, because we don't have a fail active system. We have a fail passive system that's disconnected, so you're not allowed to fly Cat 3 if something goes wrong with one of the autopilots. But essentially, that's about it. Oh, I'm losing my voice, guys. I keep forgetting how much I need to speak on one of these live streams. Okay. Good, guys. Oh, by the way, guys, remember, after the live stream now, that I will release a vlog in the Mentour Aviation app. Alright? So if you don't have the Mentour Aviation app, get it. Just download it. It's completely free. And if you want to be able to stream the vlog, well, then you get the premium subscription, which is €4.99 or dollars a month. And you'll get stuff like vlogs, you get more technical videos, and you'll get live streams like this, but more often and in a more kind of, you know, like a more internet environment. So you'll be able to, there will be less people asking questions, basically. It'll be easier to ask. So, Rohit Rao. Do pilots need to alter anything during a hold, or can the autopilot take care of it by itself? Should I go for a rating after my CPL? Well, that depends on what kind of aircraft type that you're flying and what the autopilot's like. In the 737, we just, you know, program what the holding's supposed to be like, and it does it completely automatically. All of the wind correction, speeds, timings, all of that. completely automatic. But all the aircraft types, less advanced autopilot systems, you might have to sit in heading select and do it. You might have to find the wind correction angles yourself. So all of that stuff that you've learned now during your instrument rating, you are going to need to have, because I need to verify the autopilot still. I need to verify that it's doing the correct entry into the hold, for example. Also need to have a look at what the timings are like and the mileages, if that's the case. Tune the correct nav aids. So you, as always, when you're dealing with autopilot, you need to be able to monitor it, and if you don't know your stuff, you're not going to be able to monitor it. When it comes to rating, I've done videos on this. I'll probably redo some of these videos and put them up in the Mentour Aviation app. I am very skeptical about buying type ratings unless it is connected to a job offer. So if you go through a selection for an airline and the airline says, yes, we will take you, here's the contract, you need to pay for your rating as part of it, then I would consider it. I still don't really like it. I still think that that's something the airlines should be covering, should be bearing. But I would consider it if you're a low hour cadet. Now, I would not consider going out and buying a type rating and then hoping to get a job, because most major airlines will not accept that. Unless you have significant amount of time on that type, you will not get a job. So let's say that you go out and you buy yourself a type rating for 30,000 euros, and then you get your touch and goes, which you need to get in order to get into your license, and that's all the time you have. And then you go and you apply for a 737 operator. They will say, well, we do take direct entry first officers, but you need to have 500 hours on type. And that, for insurance reasons, and because that's what's written in the manuals. So the only way for you to get into that would be to come in as a cadet doing their type rating with their SOPs and stuff like that. The only thing that they are allowed to do. So that's why I'm always very skeptical, and I'll tell you guys to be very careful about getting types, because I've seen so many types where people have bought a type rating and then had to rebuy either the same type rating or a different type rating because they couldn't get a job with it. All right? So be very careful before you start buying type ratings. Raymond Rautenbach. Hi. It's disappeared. Wait. I live in South Africa and I'm almost done with my ATPL. Would it be better to apply for a job at a South African airline or overseas airline? You apply for anything you can. All right. If you are flexible and willing to move, apply for anything that your visa allows you to apply for. That's what I would do, and I think that's the only advice I can give you. You can't be too picky when it comes to your first airline job. But I do wish you the best of luck, and if you are successful and you get a job, then send me a message on either Facebook or on Instagram. Well, not Instagram actually, because I don't really do PMs on Instagram, but in the Mentour Aviation app as well. I would love to hear how you're doing when you're done. Travis Martin, thank you very much. Or if the US goes into a major debt crisis, yeah, when it comes to the job market, yeah, well, you know, debt crisis, that's the whole world nowadays. Everyone is in major debt. Holly Movie Star, thoughts on return of supersonic air travel? I'm a little bit so and so, well, I'm 50-50 when it comes to that. A part of me thinks that it is probably not the greatest for environmental reasons, but a big part of me, which is the AvNerd part, would love to see, for example, the Boom aircraft start to fly again. I would love to be able to fly supersonic myself. So the AvGeek part of me would love to see the technology come back and to see these sleek, beautiful aircraft flying around. The part of me who wants to, you know, that this world continues to exist, kind of wants to do something more towards electrical flights and stuff like that rather than supersonic flight. I was talking to one of my friends who is an Airbus 380 captain the other day, one of my close friends, and we were talking a little bit about fuel, and he said, well, on the 380 we burn on average about 14 tons per hour. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, these guys, they fly 10 hours, so that's 140 tons of fuel on one flight for carrying 600 passengers. That's a lot of fuel. I burn on a normal day flying 4 sectors a little bit more than that. So that's 8 hours of flying for the same amount of fuel. And then I'm thinking, we have a global fleet of thousands and thousands of aircraft that's flying every minute, all the time, every time of the day. So these are tens of thousands of tons of fuel that is being pumped out all the time. So I'm becoming more and more interested in alternatives, like I said, hybrid flights or electric flights, at least the small aircraft, because we need to do something at some point. There's no way that we'll be able to pump up this amount of fuel out of the ground for the coming 100 years. It's just not going to happen. Carl Simon, it's a pleasure to finally be live with you. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Great to have you here. I see there's 1136 people watching this at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic. I love that you guys want to interact. Great, and thank you so much for being here, for helping me out in the super chat. Make sure to get into the app as well and be active in the forums. I need people like you, both people who are interested in aviation, but also people who are in training and are actual pilots right now. I need all of you inside answering and asking questions inside of the different forums and in the chat in the app, right? And I need you to tell me what you want to see more of. Christoph Esch, thanks for your videos. Well, thank you for being here. Balai Sharat Kumar, it's also a face I recognize from previous live streams. Great. Hi Mentor, why a person waving red lights while parking? You told about weak turbulence spot. If you hit one, might be a strong spot. How will you face? Well, the person that's waving the red sticks in front of the aircraft is a marshaller. He's showing, or she is showing, exactly how to maneuver in to make sure that we park in correct position. And this is very important, because if you've seen major airports now and you see how tight we park, if you're not careful when you park into stand, you might be off the mark, and then the aircraft that's parking next to you might hit their wing into our wing. So it's very important to have either a electronic system, which most major airports have, to marshal us just onto the line, or have one of those guys who are marshalling us onto stand, which is something that I could probably do a video on now, did you say? Strong turbulence. Well, we do what we can to avoid these wake turbulence, which is, I think, what you're talking about. This is done primarily by separating the aircraft. If we do end up in wake turbulence, the only thing we can do is to try to get out of it. That might be by going around if you feel that you're losing control of the aircraft on approach. Or maybe going into holding, maybe asking for a vector off the approach to kind of let it slow down a little bit before you get back in. There are different ways of doing this, but wake turbulence can be dangerous. It's mostly dangerous for smaller aircraft that's following bigger aircraft though. Great question. Kokalti, hello Peter. I always get nervous before tests. Since pilots get tested all the time, do you think I would hate a career in aviation? No, because you get used to it. Okay, the tests that come during your career are similar, but not exactly like the ones that you do during your initial training. The ones in your initial training are the ones that you're going to be really nervous for. And then the sim checks that you do, depending on what airline you fly for, you'll know pretty much what's coming. Not all of it, obviously, but you will have a feeling for what you need to know in order to pass the simulator check. So you'll become less and less nervous. But yeah, if you're one of those that become sick of nervousness before any test, then the pilot career is, like you said, full of checks. I have a medical check in 2 days. I have my sim check in 3 months. I probably have my line check coming up in a month. There's always a check coming up, and you, like I said, you learn to live with it. Director of Fun. That's a great name. Is there a reason they paint the rudder before the rest of the plane? I don't think so. I think they probably, I'm not sure they do. I think that they might mount the rudder already painted, and that's why it looks like that. But I am not an expert when it comes to painting planes, so I couldn't really answer that. David West. My father worked at Boeing for 30 years and passed away this year. Before he died, he said Boeing wanted to ground the 737 MAX, but the FAA refused until after the second crash. Have you heard this? No, I haven't heard this, and it sounds terrible if that's the case. There's a lot of rumors and stuff floating around out there when it comes to who said what and who should have done what at what point. So I don't really want to get into that discussion, to be perfectly honest. If that's the case, then I feel very bad for Boeing, because Boeing is taking a lot of heat now. And if not, that's not the case, if it's the other way around, well then the FAA is also, but FAA is partly to blame anyway. They shouldn't have let the oversight that far. And sorry for your loss, by the way. Nick W, keep doing what you're doing, Captain. Great stream. And cheers from Zurich. Well, thank you. I will keep doing this. And like I said, if you're a premium subscriber in the app, you will see this much more often. Because I'm probably going to be doing these live streams maybe every other week or so. But in the app, there will be live streams whenever I feel like it. Or, for example, when there's a good discussion going inside of the app. Someone is saying something and someone else disagrees and said, Mentor, what do you think about this? Well then, if I'm home, I can just jump in and do a quick live stream in the app discussing it with you guys directly. So get the premium subscription, guys. Mohammed Al-Alawai, thank you very much. Now the question that you wanted to send didn't come through, so please contact me later on, send an email and I'll try to answer it then. And Pontus Hedman, do you still remember how to use a E6B? Be honest now. The stick. No, I will have to. When it comes to that, I will probably have to go back and redo a little bit of planning, because now I haven't used it for 15 years. If I wouldn't fly the 737 for 15 years, I probably would forget quite a bit of it as well. So I think that I would kind of quickly get back to it though. I was out flying a Diamond 42 the other month. I'm going to send a video out on that on the channel soon. And it took a while. It felt a little bit weird in the beginning, but everything comes back to you fairly quickly. How to sit and how to push rudder when you're climbing, and when you're turning, because we have a yaw damper in the 737 that does that for us. So these things comes back quickly when you've done it a lot, which I had earlier on. So right now the answer is no, but it will come back. That's it, guys. I've been doing this for 55 minutes now. There's no more super chat questions. I'll take a few more questions from the normal chat here. Let's see. How many airlines have zero negotiation policy against any threat? I don't know that. When it comes to negotiating with hijackers, I think no one does that, because it would be like a death sentence. If you're known for negotiating with hijackers, you're just inviting more hijackers. So it's not a good idea. Should I apply to US aviation colleges? I am 16 years old, from Black Libertarian. Yeah, if you have the money to do it, I think they're kind of pricey. Then it's a good idea, because I believe that most of those aviation colleges have a reduction. You should check that out. That you can reduce from the 1,500 rule down to I think 1,000 hours before you can start working for an airline. So that might be a good thing. But do proper research, and this is what I always tell you guys: so don't sign up to something before you research it thoroughly. What are hot breaks? I've talked about that in 2 weeks ago in the episode about why it's a problem to fly during the summer. So check out that video, because I talk about hot breaks there. Let's see. What happens if the seats of the airplane releases when it takes off? Yeah, I guess everyone falls back. Never heard of that happening though. That would be a sight to see. So, Tony W, Mentor pilot. Why are so many pilots trying to make money from YouTube these days? Oh, that's a great question. All right. So, I started this adventure about 3.5 years ago. I started sitting in front of pretty much this computer, doing videos like this, just talking head videos straight towards the camera. No audio equipment, nothing fancy, and I just talked about the stuff that I loved. I realized after a while that people wanted to listen to this, right? People were interested in knowing what my thoughts were on things and what I had to say. So I started taking more time, learning more about the, how how to make videos, how to improve it, and as the time increases, the views kept increasing. But for the first 2 years, I didn't really earn any money. We're talking maybe €1 or 2 per day. Okay, something like that. Something that would buy me and my wife maybe a dinner at the end of the month, and that's it for 2.5 years. So I didn't do this for money. However, now with the amount of subscribers that I have, the amount of views I have, then there is money coming in from both sponsors and from AdSense. So what do I use this money for? Well, I created a company, me and my wife together, and this company is dedicated in trying to improve the aviation business as I see it. Okay, I want more people to have access to good information. I want more people like you to be able to speak to pilots like me, which is why I created the app. And the app has used a lot of the money that's come in order to be as good as it is right now. There's still room for improvement, I know that, but this is what the money goes to, and it also goes to compensating. I, for example, pay a small salary to my wife for helping me out with the Patreons, which you guys will start seeing very soon, but also because I work full time with this now. I've actually reduced flying quite a bit so that I can work on this project, because I feel that there is a need for my voice to get out, to tell you guys what I think about it. Now, I want to emphasize that these are my views, okay? I can't speak for anyone else. But I think that with me, when I started this and Captain Joe started this, then all of a sudden people start realizing that there is an interest for this. Whenever there's an interest for it, there's going to be more and more people doing it. So these Instagram accounts have been popping up. Some of them are more about lifestyle, some of them are more about information like mine. But whenever you have an area where people are interested and wants to know more, there's going to be sources of information available. Now, I guess there are a lot of people who does this purely for the money. I do it purely because I want to see this industry improve. I think that there should be more financial responsibility taken by the airlines, for example. This is something that I believe in strongly. I think that there should be a mechanism available for people who are talented to become pilots but doesn't have money to become pilots to get there. This is something that I will work with very, very hard, because I think that when just now not tapping into all of the talent out there, and I want us to do that. But yeah, the answer to your question is why are there so many pilots doing this? It's because there's a lot of interest in it. You know, and I think that if you would be interested in doing ham radios, you will find that there's a lot of people doing that as well. There will be a lot of videos about Nerf guns, much more than this, about opening packages and whispering very, very, very low like this. There's channels about absolutely everything. So I think it's just a matter of social media becoming bigger and bigger. It's not so much that pilots are getting more and more into it. Cool, guys. I think there is, let's see, Jason Boggs sent in the last super chat. That's it, guys. I've been doing this for an hour exactly now. Now, when I finish this, I will be releasing the latest vlog. This is from a flight that I did last week. Now, I'm going to try to do vlogs, but like I've been saying before, when I'm instructing, I can't do it because my full focus goes on to the student then. And these vlogs I do when there's a little bit of time over, where something funny has happened that I want to show you about. But they are going to come in the app. They're not going to come in the YouTube channel. They're going to be in the app. Okay, so if you're interested in that, if you're interested in following me for a day last week, then go in now, get the app. The app is absolutely free to download. This vlog will be free to download as well if you want to see it. But if you want to stream it so that you don't need to put it on your device and not need to use any memory for it, then go in and get the premium subscription in the Mentour Aviation app. That's where all of the cool stuff will be. If you want to have live streams like this and ask questions inside of the app to me directly, you need to be a premium subscriber. And there's other perks as well. You'll be able to see all of the profiles of the other users and stuff like that, but much more to come. Have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.